All right. So everyone, I want to introduce you to Luc Comeau. He's my guru in nonprofit financing and funding, especially government funding and sponsorship and so on. So I'm so happy to have him on our session today. We're going to have more and more guest speakers during our webinar series. So without any further ado, I'm going to let Luc move forward on this slide deck so we can, as soon as possible, get into practical stuff as well. Welcome, Luc.
Thank you, Alain, and thank you for the invitation. I hope everyone hears me well. I have a bit of a cough, so if I go on mute, it's only for a few seconds. I'm very happy to be with you today and to share some experience that Alain and I have in terms of getting the money and getting the resources that nonprofits need to do their work in communities. It's been the main focus of my career since I got involved in a student paper at Laurentian University back in '88. Getting resources for nonprofits is, to me, a critical aspect of the work that volunteer organizations do in Canada. So I'm going to let Alain give you the overall picture in terms of KPIs.
Uh, Excellent. Today we're just going to dig into the fact that the things that help you in your funding exercise here is to really to create the link between organizational performance and funding. So when we do refer to KPIs and are we implementing our mission effectively, and the performance of the organization is directly linked to its capability or capacity, if you want, to raise funds, whether it's with government funding or sponsors or donors or even in their programs and services. Everyone's attracted, or the organization's magnetism is really based on its capacity to serve their clients and their stakeholders. So when we do link today the funding to performance indicators, we're really talking about, are we meeting our goals? Are we listening to stakeholders? Do we really master what our main stakeholders need and what their satisfaction levels are on the market right now, and also what the trends are? And are we able to really meet their requirements when it comes to being there for them and also convincing funders to support us in delivering on what they're actually needing? And there's a few webinars that have been that went on this in the past with regards to operational readiness and strategic readiness. And funding is strategic, and when we are funding our strategic imperatives, we need to be, right in there on our market, mastering what our clients need. So let's just keep it at that, Luc, so we can dig into the four pillars. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Alain. I'm going to provide you a quick overview before we jump into the work tool that you'll be able to download and actually work on the funding in your organization. I'm going to provide an overview of the four pillars, obviously with tons of editorial comments by Alain and myself, our market read on the situation for nonprofits. So in the first pillar, of course, it's a classic one for nonprofits and charities in Canada, government funding. It's very important that we keep in mind that that is a big part of the pie, and there are best practices that we can utilize. And as we move forward with these series of trainings, we'll be sharing more nuanced views on government funding. I have been actively working in this field for over 35 years. I've been able to be successful with different approaches, and the key one obviously is matching funding priorities with the organization's mission. I can't emphasize enough how mission-driven projects and initiatives are appealing to governments, and mission creep, and when we stray from what our core business area is, it can be less appealing, and we can win less proposals when we're kind of stepping outside of our core area of expertise as an organization. So those funding priorities are shared by governments in program calls for proposals, in program websites, deadlines. So we obviously have to monitor those, but we're very big, Alain and I, on recommending that you become very picky and that you select opportunities as opposed to scatter shooting in as many opportunities as possible. As you know, as an organization, you're probably bombarded with ideas from your board, from volunteers, from clients, from people you serve on a daily basis, from emails that you get to your info at account. You guys should do this, or you should do this, or why aren't you guys helping us with this? Or there's a ton of ideas out there. It's easy to capture them, but it's more of a challenge to prioritize them and to develop projects out of those ideas, validate them quickly with others. But to me, there is a key skill in management of nonprofits, and that is using your intuition to identify ideas that have the potential for greater good and for impact if they are put forth and developed and realized and turned into services and programs for individuals and communities. So that intuition will help you. I think you need to stay abreast of all the possible ideas, but use your intuition. And there are some tools available in terms of prioritizing ideas that we can share upon request. But essentially, the best practices that I use on this one is when an idea kind of sticks and makes sense for an organization in terms of we should maybe get involved in this type of program or service, we try to set forth a 1 or 2 page summary of what this idea is and could be. So a description, the results, a timeline, a budget, potential partners, essentially really a rough initial draft of fleshing out what the project is and what it could mean if it was operational. This ideation stage and summary stage allows you to put words to paper, and writing that 1, 2, 3 paragraph, 1, 2, 3 sentence description at the top of that one pager is really hard. It takes a bit of time, but if the idea is powerful enough and it has impact, potential impact in the community, usually you're able to put that into a one pager and then use that summary. And for every good idea that you have, if you develop these one pagers that basically contain the essence of what the project could be in an initial ideation draft stage, then when you're looking at funding programs, government objectives, criteria, what is New Horizons doing with technology for seniors, for example, when some of your project summaries match with these government funding priorities, then it becomes a question of trying to select and match ideas that you're shopping when you're looking at different grant opportunities. So to me, capturing those ideas and developing project summaries is an important part of the work. So you have 2, 3, 4, 5 projects that are at the idea stage that you could potentially develop into a proposal. You also, when you're looking at opportunities and looking at how many grant proposals you prepare in a year, you also have to take into account organizational capacity. A lot of executive directors write the grant proposals themselves. Sometimes it's program directors, sometimes it's program staff that do it, sometimes freelance writers, sometimes volunteers from the board. The capacity to actually build a good sales proposal, a complete project proposal that meets all of the funding criteria, usually in my experience, is anywhere from 3 to 7 full work days, starting from a good project summary. So if you have a day a week as an executive director, that's 50 days in a year. If it takes 7, you can quite quickly assess that you can't put in more than 7 proposals a year, 7 times 7 days, full proposals. But one of the practices that I preach is that you take into account that capacity and maybe set a reachable target. If you're stuck doing 3 renewal proposals every year and you want to perhaps add 3 project proposals targeting 50, 100, and 150 to try to get 300K into the organization, do you have that capacity to select 3 programs and actually put together 3 solid extra proposals? That's an important part of managing the government funding side, is what you need to do and what you need to potentially add. Assessing the capacity and the amount of work. We all know that for example, some Trillium grants, the growth grants, are more difficult to build than the seed grants. So some of the projects can be turned into a proposal for some funders with 2 or 3 days work. So maybe you target one of those to start before getting into the more complex program calls. HRDC, for example, are known for having more detailed calls for proposals. So it all blends into an overall funding strategy with the government funding pillar, where you're selecting funding programs in a strategic manner. You're actually making business decisions in terms of, do we go or do we not? Do we inject the energy that we need to inject to build this proposal, and hopefully 6-9 months down the road get a grant or a contribution agreement to do this work? So obviously, selecting the programs, being realistic in terms of your capacity, building from good project ideas and summaries are key elements for this pillar. And the whole building the proposals from the matching the criteria and eligible expenses, building all of the justification and argumentation, responding to the 30 to 60 questions that need to be answered, providing all of the appendix documents. Developing those strong proposals obviously is a webinar in and of itself. That is available in French and will be available soon in English. So there are some best practices in development of proposals as well that we need to take into account. So this is only one of the 4 pillars. It's obviously a big one, a complex one, but there are 3 other pillars that relate to self-generated revenue. A lot of the nonprofits that we work with, Alain and I, have a diversified revenue base. You are selling services to families, clients, individuals, or other organizations. Your program activities sometimes are free and sometimes generate revenue. Day camps, summer camps, theater shows, programs that offer training or support on a fee basis are all self-generated revenue. We talk about social enterprise. To me, organizations have been generating revenues and doing sales per se forever, and this newfangled social enterprise, and we're developing self-generated revenues wording is just putting words on things that have been happening forever. Obviously, there are some services that must be offered free, especially in terms of low-income clientele and people who are facing significant obstacles. But there are always activities that you're offering that could perhaps be offered on a fee basis. You could create new offerings on a fee basis. When you're looking at these things, obviously you need to be very clear on the service and program that you're going to be promoting, what it's worth to people, what kind of prices you can look at. Theater companies have flexible pricing grids now, as opposed to very set ticket prices. There's ways to be flexible with pricing, but essentially when you're doing self-generated revenues, you're selling elements that people are buying to get things out of your organization that they can't get elsewhere, and that make a difference for them or for their family. Obviously, when you're doing that, if it's, for example, summer camps for 6 to 12-year-olds focusing on technology, you have to have a marketing strategy and actually reach people and get them to invest and register their kids for it. And then you have to deliver these activities, hire the staff, develop the programming, and report results to your board in terms of whether the program has a satisfaction level, and also are we breaking even? Are we making a bit of money on this to fund general operating revenues? So this second pillar is one that you're probably doing already on either a small or a large scale. If you're not, it's something that can be envisaged, but it will help broaden your revenue pie into other areas, even though there are a lot of efforts required when you're into this pillar. The third pillar is sponsorships. Sponsorships is a specific subcomponent of the marketing industry. Corporations and institutions such as colleges, universities, hospitals, all use sponsorships to position themselves as partners in the community. There is a myth out there that only private corporations sponsor. Our experience, Alain and I, has been that most institutions, school boards, all have policies whereby they get engaged in communities and they do invest some dollars in nonprofits. Obviously, when people are becoming sponsors, they're sponsoring programs or events, and they're looking for visibility and social impact. They want their logo to be associated with a good cause. I was involved back in 1999 with the United Way's Government of Canada sponsorship campaign, where we restructured the approach, and corporations were associating themselves with the government employee efforts to raise money for United Way. The brand association was very powerful with a brand such as United Way, but no matter what your organization is doing or the size of the organization, you are doing good work in your community, and that is a worthy association potential for a sponsor. Obviously, you need to then, once you're thinking in those terms and looking at your programs and services or events, you need to be able to price sponsorship opportunities using an options grid, the classic, platinum, gold, silver, bronze sponsor options. You can start out with very simple options. I have one nonprofit that I'm helping who has basically a major partner and a supporting partner, 2,500, and they're basically looking for people to support what they do, and looking at institutions and corporations to basically fund their work as they're a very small organization. Once you have an options grid, you prepare a sales kit, which is basically a cover letter, a proposal highlighting the organization, what it does, and how the association can benefit the sponsor. You build a list of 5 to 10 targets, and you start making calls. You focus on sales, you follow up, you make presentations. Once you find a sponsor, you write up an agreement, you send an invoice, you implement by putting their logo on your website or at your event. And then the critical part with sponsorships is reporting on the visibilities that you've offered and making sure that on a yearly basis, you're informing the sponsors of how they are being recognized for their investment. Sponsorships can become a yearly recurring thing. So it is a niche area. There are some best practices, but any organization can start small and then grow this into maybe 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 a year, using the events and programs that you already offer. So that's pillar 3. Obviously, pillar 4, securing donations, is a whole other element. You have to have be clear on your legal status, whether you're a Canada Revenue Agency certified charity or not, to issue tax receipts. You can solicit donations if you're not a charitable organization, obviously on a smaller scale. But you have a cause, you're working on something very specific as a nonprofit, and there are always donor motivations for supporting your cause. And there are people out there who espouse your work and who might be willing to sign up for a $20 a month or a $5 a month recurring donation that comes out of their bank account. Once again, our approach, Alain and I, is start small, do some prototyping, look at the people who are closest to your organization, some volunteers perhaps, and try to build a list of people who might be interested in a direct ask. You can also consider doing, pardon me. I'm back. You can look at perhaps organizing fundraising events such as galas or golf tournaments. Obviously, when you're doing an event, you have the overall effort and cost, and the amount that you make as a net profit is the donation that you receive. When you're doing direct asks and people are donating, it's obviously the full amount that goes to your organization. So as you're looking at donations, Alain has a great example about a nonprofit in Sarnia who basically started small, started asking potential donors for small amounts, and over a few years, they have grown their donor base to a larger amount, and it's part of their funding revenue. So to us, these four pillars, as you're testing, adjusting, thanking donors and sponsors, and people who buy your services, reporting on government grants, selling sponsorships for events and for annual programs. As you're implementing all this, you're following up with your stakeholders who are your investors in all these four pillars. To us, there is a way that you can use these four approaches and calibrate them according to your specific reality to grow your annual budget. The whole thing about generating resources for me personally, and in my professional experience, is that if you can grow on a reasonable rate, the overall budget of your organization, you generate more resource to have more impact, more programs, more services in your community. Managing growth can be hard, but building it in a slow, steadfast manner, and then taking an organization from 300 a year to maybe 450 over 2, 3, 4 years can have an impact. That extra 150,000 can go into real things that happen for real people. My 95-year-old dad always asks me, "So what are you doing to help people?" You know, and I always take satisfaction in helping people get resources because the services that they offer, the nonprofit field in Canada, I'm preaching to the converted, I know, but that is when you have more resources, you can do more and better work. So that's essentially my overview of the pillars. Feel free to ask questions now or at the end.
Absolutely. And you can use the Q&A or the chat to ask questions. We're monitoring both. And as we move forward, we like to talk about, theories and concepts. And I love that Luc has all these examples and backstories that I know he would love to share more of. But we promised each other today that we would get into the nitty-gritty of the how, not just the what today. And yeah, we spent the first 20 minutes on that. And the next part of this webinar is really going to be about how do we integrate it into our day-to-day lives as a funder. So let's move forward on how do we operationalize all this. And the essential tools to fundraising is really an opportunity tracker to enable the to identify relevant funding opportunities. And that's, it depends on which organization uh, you're a member of, or other more large organizations that offer that service. I know that there are some in the French community outside of Quebec. There's also some in the English community, like the nonprofit networks that are out there that just offer different monitoring of opportunities when it comes to government funding. But I think you also need to keep an eye on what's going on in your community. Where are those different spots where you could actually solicit donations, sponsorships, and even some grant or mini micro grants funding? You need to keep an eye on that market. In the same way, a business owner as myself keeps an eye on the training market to try and see where the opportunities are. So I'm there in the right moment when it's time to go and grab that contract or grab that opportunity. We need to be able to have that opportunity tracker somewhere in the nonprofit sector on one of your dashboards, a list of the opportunities, the dates, and so on. Also, a decision making mechanism or matrix really helps. Anyways, my clients who use one, it really helps them to stick to their lane and prevent any mission creep that they might be falling into, or the trap of, oh, that's easy money, let's just do it and add money to our operations. I think it's a trap, and I've seen many of our clients end up just outside of their mission, outside of their stated strategic vision, or even outside of their values, doing things that just don't fit with them just because the money is there. And I think that's a trap. And over time, we need to be able to have that grunt test. And that grunt test to me is simple. Does it fit in my mission? Does it fit in my strategic vision? Does it fit in my values? That's the first test. The second one is, does it um, enhance stakeholder satisfaction? Does it meet a need that I've identified, I have stats on and data that support it? And or am I ahead on a trend where I can be better positioned and convince a funder, grant, whether it's grant sponsors or donors, to help me position the organization on that trend ahead of the bend before these um, new situations occur in on my market. And the third one in my grunt test is this enhancing the way I'm doing business? So mission, vision, values, find satisfaction, needs and trends of clients, but also are there grants out there that can help me do business better? Either renovate something or enhance internal controls and tools to manage better. There are grants out there to help organizations have better boards or better, surveillance systems when it comes to monitoring the organization's performance. So if you really have an opportunity tracker, you'll be able to not only see what can help you deliver more impact in your community, but also do better business and just enhance the whole organization as a whole. And I think that's my take on it, because I could talk about this for hours. We've seen organizations really set themselves up for failure in their decision-making matrix. They don't consider the fact that managing a $1 million grant is just not the same thing as managing a five $100,000 grants. So we need to be able to hit the market when it comes to managing grants and funding. We need to be able to really have the operational readiness to take it on. So I love what Luc said a few minutes ago. And as you grow in this, bringing your organization to better government funding, better programs and services that are actually bringing in some cash, better donation, securing of donors, and a better sponsorship plan should balance themselves out, not all equally, but we should have targets there to help us grow in a on a curve that makes sense. Even in business, it doesn't make sense to grow 50% a year. It's just going to be almost impossible to manage. It's not different in nonprofits. So as we build capacity when it comes to funding, it's really going to create a robust organization that can go from, a $100,000 organization in year one or year two to year seven being a $1 million organization, or maybe a $750,000 organization as it grows at 10, 15 on a 10, 15% curve. It's not, I don't think it's very different when it comes to nonprofit than private sector businesses. If you grow too fast, you're going to get hurt. And it's the same way for nonprofits, and we need to be strategic as we do it. So in what we'd like to show you today is when it comes to tracking and monitoring, is we're proud of this little dashboard that we've created. We're going to share it with you. I'm going to do a demo of what we created. Then I'm going to share a copy link from Google Sheets that you can just click on and just create a copy for yourself directly from the system. And if you need to transfer it to Excel, I did not put any complex algorithms or formulas in the table, so it should translate pretty perfectly to Excel. So I'm going to share my screen here, Luc, if that's okay with you. And let's start here. So here's the link. If you want to see this, I'm going to go in the chat. I'm going to share this link. If you want to click on the link I just put in the chat, it's actually a link to the demo that I have here. Let me just make sure I have the right one. Yeah, so that's the model. So it's really just a demo of my little sheet that's here. And bear with me for a moment. If you're managing nonprofit funding, this is going to speak to you. I just need a few minutes to go through it. And as we go through it, we'll be able to build here. This is what I want to really bring your attention to is this part here. And I'm going to share a second link with you so you can make a copy. And this is where you should start. It's that section there. I just put a green box around it so you can see it. I'm just going to copy the link here. No, that's not the link I'm looking for. Luke, could you go in the chat, the Google chat? I think I shared the copy link there and put it in this Zoom chat, please.
Just
So
a
I'm going to
moment.
zoom in here and I need everyone's really undivided attention on this part here. So I'm going to just zoom it so we can see this part of the dashboard is really to have to take a moment to strategically think of what is my capacity here. And as we're going through current total revenues, these are numbers that you can go and set right away. So
Okay, try this link that I just put on the chat should lead you to
yeah, so
a
this
link
is
that
the page
allows you
it's
to
going to
copy
give
the
you.
documents.
Exactly. And all you need to do is click make a copy and it's going to create a copy. It's free. It's for you to be able to work on this. So, but this is where I'd like for you to start when it comes to this dashboard is to be able to just put in the first numbers. What are your numbers here? So in this blue box here, think of your total budget, which should add up here in the end. If I'm getting, let's say, $145,000 from government funding, I'm getting $2,500 in donations. My sponsorship program is bringing in $4,500, and right now, all of my activities, my gala, my 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 artistic shows or my guitar lessons that we're giving or my workshops that I'm giving to my local chamber of commerce is bringing in $34,000 a year. Let's just say that that's our numbers right now. And the second box here will give you the ratios of where is my
Alain,
money
it's
coming
Luc.
from?
Uh,
Yes?
I'm gonna put a new link in there that has the green box.
Okay, thanks, Luc.
My apologies.
Perfect. Oh, it's because I didn't put the green box on the. Okay, thanks, Luc. All right, so if this makes sense to you, these would be your current numbers. And this is something you can bring to your finance committee at the board of directors as well and have a strategic conversation about what should we be aiming for down here? What would be my goals in percentage so we can get these numbers that we're aiming for to diversify and stabilize the organization. So I'm putting my governance hat on for a few minutes. And as I'm looking at this table, I'm thinking, okay, this could be troublesome for me because we're 80% of our money is coming from government funds. And if I lose one of those grants, I'm dead in the water. So what could I do as a board of directors or as an executive director towards my board saying, strategically, I need to bring these numbers up? And the numbers I would want to put here is say, how about we were 50% government funds and we would aim over 5 years to bring to 50% the rest of our revenues coming in from our from the other pillars of financing our nonprofit. So this is where you could come and change, physically just change these numbers and say, we want to stick to maybe 70% here and change the numbers for it to add up to 100% here. So if I'm 70 there needs to be 30 here, but it would change my numbers here. It would change my numbers in the way the dashboard is built. So we
Alain,
want to make sure we're getting to 100% here. I should have put that as well. It's not a perfect table, but definitely that here I'd want a sum of.
Alain, could you go into the chat on the bottom right and activate the chat so that people can access the last link?
Yes, my apologies. Did I forget to do that? Of course. Chat is disabled. Thank you, Christina. My apologies. Let me go fix that. Chat. Where is it? There it is. I'm going to open this. Allow.
So
Oh,
the
that.
last link, the third one in the chat, is one that leads you to the worksheet with the green box.
Thank you. Let me. Everyone and everyone. Let me know, Christina, if the chat works. Yes. Merci, Gilles. That's perfect. So obviously we want these numbers to make sense. So if I'm moving to 70% here, I'm going to want to move these numbers around for it to make sense here, to add up to that. Where am I missing here? Let's say I was going for this and it would change my numbers. So I still have the same amount. I'm not necessarily thinking of growth right now. I'm just trying to think of how can I stabilize and diversify to sort of protect the organization over time. So by moving here, am I going to put as much time in government grants as I would in donations, sponsorship, and so on? Well, that would be something to think about. And this is where the numbers would probably need to change to adjust here and say, looking at my current numbers, maybe I should go to, 5% here. Whoops, not 50. 5% here, 15% here. And it would just make more sense because sponsorship sometimes is easier than, yeah, others. So actually what I would do personally is I would go to 15% there because I'm already close to that, but I would move here to probably maintain the 10% here. And we would see where do I need to make more efforts. So I'm looking at the chat here. We're going to re-put the links. My apologies. Yeah, let's make this work first.
It's in there. Could you try to see if you access the worksheet with the green box from the last link I put in?
Let me
And
double
when
check.
you access, you're looking for the
Whiteboard, yes, we
ratios
got it.
tab.
Is it
Alain,
open?
Alain has built several tabs on this tool, but the ratios one with the green box is the main one
Second tab.
to allow you to jump into the exercise. So from the link I put in at 11:40, you should be able to download a worksheet and then move to the ratios tab to see the green box.
All right. I'm going to continue slowly. Christina, I know you want this to work, and I'm checking in with you. Is the link working for that document? You want to just click on it? No. Okay, let me try on my end, Luke. Is that okay? I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna do copy link here. No link in chat. Is there a link in chat now? Oh, Luke, you shared with host and panelists only. That's why. There you go. Some people are showing up here. We are so techies, Christina. You must be laughing right now. I'm just glad it's working. There you go. That's for everyone. Now, that's why we have enough time in this hour. Not too much theoretical content, but we want to dig into this dashboard for you. Perfect. Excellent. Équipe Alpha, thank you. Now, this is the first tab where you want to go into work. So I would suggest to make a copy of this right away and start playing with it. But you would want to start on this second tab at the bottom in the green box that I put there. So it's not a perfect dashboard. I'm not a programmer. I'm just a consultant and a trainer. But what I wanted to do here is build every single tab you'll need to monitor completely. So let me know in the chat if you were able to make a copy. If you don't know how to, you can just go into files here at the top and just make a copy, and it's going to create a copy for you. I think you can also download as an Excel spreadsheet if you're a
Yes.
Microsoft person. Okay, so go ahead,
Yeah, under
do that.
file.
Once it's done, I'm going to do a complete overview of this dashboard if you're ready. Ready to go? So this is what I did, and I'm going to start from the end because all of these tabs at the bottom, they really feed the dashboard that's at the first tab here. So let me start with the end so we can finish with the overview. So here, what I simply did is I created a list of events or services. They're in French. My apologies. You can put them in English. Who is the targeted stakeholders? You can change these as you wish when it comes to your uh, um, main stakeholders. I put a date there just in case it's a specific event. If it's a yearly event, I would just put the year's end of your financial year end. And this is where you really start putting numbers. What is your target participation for the gala? Well, I want 175 people, and my price point for it to actually work is $100. And it gives you your target revenues that are here. And if you do have a sponsorship strategy for that event or part of a grant contribution, you can come and put these here. So you're doing a gala, and let's say the city of Gatineau gave you $2,500 in a grant to help you with this, and you got $12,000 in sponsorship specifically for that event. It will help you calculate here, you know, how your goals, and in the end, you'll be able to put your actual results here. So I'm targeting 175, but I actually got 189. And that's going to feed the other numbers down the line, which this is your revenues from participation and total revenues of this program. And if you do it for all your events, it's going to feed the main dashboard when it comes to your programs right here. Did I do that properly, Dick? I think I did.
Yes.
175 participants is my numbers, and that's just coming from this board here. So this is my events, programs, and services. My second one is all of my sponsors, but this is built on my sponsorship plan. For those who are really strong in sponsorship, you'll recognize this type of plan. We have different levels, right? Different sponsorship levels. And the usual strategy is put a number here. Your main sponsor should only be one, and divide into and just build it down from there. They should all be around the same amount. So I've got one sponsor at 10 grand, two of them at five, four of them at 2,500, eight of them at 1250, and I've got 16 of them that are at that point. And my sponsorship goal is already established there because I put the numbers there. If you want to change them here, then you can, but this is just a very standard way of establishing your sponsorship goals. And from there, obviously, you need to give more visibility to the top sponsors and just break down the visibility, so it's not too much effort on your part to deliver on your promise for the 625 bucks, but you will be spending money to deliver visibility and what you promised on the 10 grand. But essentially, these are the revenues that are coming in. It gives you your goals. Then you just start putting in your sponsors, business one or institution one, business two, organization three, and so on and so forth. You just choose the number, the level here, and you put the number that's fed from the plan. As you notice, these are the numbers I put in, and these are the sponsorships that we got. and it's building my sponsorship totals. Where's my total? Right here. I'm already up to 20 grand, and that's feeding my dashboard over here when it comes to my sponsorship, and my totals are already added to the dashboard here. So that's why the colors match here. So sponsorship plan and sponsorship list or inventory are both there together. I did the same thing with your donations plan and also with your donors. So here you would have different levels. You can call them whatever you want. I think it's really important to maintain levels, and here you just give yourself a goal. I set $500 for this level. You can change it as you wish. Recurring donations are a big trend right now, and that's why I also added that portion to the dashboard. So this is giving me a goal when it comes to donations, and it's on my plan. Then I can go and add in, okay, who are my donors? I got different levels here, but I can go and pick and choose from all of these numbers that come from my plan. What is the donors that are coming in, and how many of these are actually recurring donors? Because I think that needs to be monitored. Recurring donors are a gold mine right now when it comes to um, to measuring success on donation plans. So securing a donor is one thing. Keeping the donor is another. Recurring donations with either PayPal or Stripe or other tools that are out there is really the very best way not to spend too much effort recruiting donors over time. So here's the number of donors that you get, and here is the recurring donors. So on your dashboard, you also have those numbers here. Donors. Whoops. The goal and so on, number of donors and so on. They're all there. And then your donations are here. That's the goal. And these are the results. And they're all pulled from the donors list right here. So the amount here is divided in 4 quarters when it comes to donations. And you'll be able to decide if you're keeping it split here in donations for every quarter, trimestre or quarter. Q should be there as well. Q or trimestre un should are all split in 4 on your donors list here, donations right here, or you could just monitor it more specifically if you're good at those algorithms and formulas to check per quarter, then you can program those on your own. And finally, the government funding. I didn't do a goals dashboard here. All I did on the government funding part is put in all of the grant proposals that you've created, put in the amount that you've asked, 240 grand here, um, 50 grand here, maybe 10 grand on this one, and so on and so forth. And then you could put it the amount that you actually got. So it might have been 230 instead of what you actually asked for. It might have been 40 grand here. It might have been only 8 on this one. Um, and then you can determine if there's the percentage of admin fees that's permitted by those groups. It varies. I think, Luc, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes between 8 and 13%.
Yeah, up to 15 usually.
15. So let's say it was 15 on this one. It's actually going to give you a number on contribution to operations from those grants. And it gives you an opportunity at bird's eye view to see what's going on here. And then you can put the period for that proposals, that grant money to be spent. And if they require an audit or not, you can start, just keeping an eye on all of this so you can actually, yeah, look at the grant proposals that you've sent. Right here, I have 3. So this was just a dashboard. You will want to decide on how you want to break this down. This drop-down list, I put different levels of government and private sector. And in this, just put the name of the program from this funder, let's say it's Heritage Canada, Patrimoine Canadien, programme, a project program. It's just going to give you numbers here. That's all I wanted to do with this. And all of those that are accepted, it also gives you numbers to feed the formula on the other end. There's a bit of manual stuff in there, guys, but it works. If you just want to get started, I think it's a good dashboard to start measuring your scenarios. And as you can see here, it's already feeding your monitoring dashboard for your ratios that you put in here. Um, and I put a few other ratios, grant success rate, donor, automated donors versus recurring donors, and so on. A few notes here on the ratios. So it helps you determine, you know, government financing versus generated private funding and contributions to operations. Your average is 14% here, and so on and so on. And finally, it gives you an overview on this piece here, and I'm just going to zoom back out. My apologies, it's moving around here. I'm just going to zoom back out here to give you an overview of this tool. So this is just, I put a red line here because these are financial numbers, and these are other matrix KPIs that are useful and that are pulled from other tabs in this dashboard. So participation
Okay.
levels, number of funders, which is an important thing that you don't want to put your eggs all in the same basket. So different funders really help in your diversification and risk management strategy. The number of proposals that you actually wrote, the number of donors, number of sponsors, and recurring donations or automatic donations through systems like Stripe and PayPal and others. These numbers here are all pulled. Most of them are pulled from the rest of the tabs that are here, but we're actually looking at some of them are fed by those tabs, and others I just put there just to consider them, like your membership, other revenues, sales of products. I didn't want to create an inventory in this dashboard. You're probably selling them online, or you have another tool to sell them. Just grab your Stripe number or your POS number and just plug it in there so so you're keeping an eye on things. Everything else is pulled from this Excel sheet or this Google sheet that you have. Now, I'm trying to, I would love to interact with you in this part of the session and answer questions more directly. I'm going to try. Is anyone interested in finishing this webinar with Q&A, a live Q&A with Luc and myself? And if so, I'll just promote you to panelist, and we can actually interact as if we were in a meeting, and we can talk about this dashboard. If anyone's interested in doing that, just let me know in the chat. I'll promote you to panelist. I'm gonna, Luc, were there any other slides to consider?
No, I think the main thing is if you go back to the ratios slide with the green box,
Yeah.
the best start for me is taking your most recent audited financials, filling in the blue line, and getting a first sense of your ratios. If the strength of this tool, I think, is not just in the details and all of the interlinked tables, but or tabs, but in this overall proportion view of where your funding is and which pillar is bringing in how much for your organization.
Beautiful. So, Luc, I think we had a slide with the next webinars, but they're all on our website. We're going to share you all that information. I don't know if there was any other information on those slides, Luc, that we needed to
My
share.
Yeah,
But
my
if
suggestion, Alain, is that we move to the pitfalls and tips section quickly,
okay, go ahead.
as we have about. So if you, I will share my screen again.
So I hope that was useful for you. This dashboard, you have the full link. You can do whatever you want with it. If you need some help, just reach out and you can maybe book for a small coaching session or just a quick conversation. We're pretty helpful when it comes to that stuff. We love to just talk about this stuff. So let's go to the pitfalls, Luke. Go ahead.
Yes, we're going to run through quickly some pitfalls and tips. You'll be able to see risks and impacts as well. The first one, obviously, we talked about it, is developing proposals that don't align with the organization's mission. Sometimes the allure of a funder can be interesting, and we don't recommend that. We obviously you need to have a transparent decision-making process, accountability frameworks. But what often happens if you're finding yourself writing a proposal in a grant portal from scratch and not basing yourself on your summaries or other ideas that come from your organization, if you're trying to build a project just to get the money, you're probably in the forms and in the portals trying to invent it. In that case, it's better to take a step back and maybe reconsider that. The second pitfall is thinking that you don't have time. Alain and I are managing businesses and generating revenues and implementing and administering the businesses as well. No one has time, but there is time. To me, you have to take a look at potential opportunities, initiatives that are aligned with your mission and vision, and basically try to find the realistic amount of time that you can contribute as an organization, which team members puts how much effort into generating the revenues. So that's the second pitfall. Alain will cover the third one.
Yeah, so over reliance on government funding is always a trap, I think, and this pitfall is we've seen clients we've seen programs and governments change. They change orientation, they change their vision, they change their strategy, they change their values, they change their programs. And over reliance on government funding is something that needs to be looked at by the board of directors and the management team as well. Whether your management team is just one person or not, you need to take a moment and reflect on this. So look at those ratios. The risk is dependency on shifting policies and reduced project flexibility. I was just with a client yesterday. They have one grant, they're stuck within that grant, and it also prevents them from growing and looking further, but they need to change because the envelope hasn't changed in 7 years. 7 years. So that's a really important thing when it comes to employees that want to see their salaries grow with inflation. So, let's do a bit more to bring all of this. So let's just come back, Luke. So the tip
Yep.
here is to prioritize self-financing strategies. So services, sponsorship, and donations. We have that in the dashboard that we shared, and the impact will be financial stability, operational, organizational autonomy, but most of all, strategic readiness and operational readiness to just bring on new initiatives. Bring it on. There's a new trend, there's a new need. Clients will pay for it. There's a new event I can do. They all want it. When you're stable financially, your strategic and operational readiness is just stronger. Let's keep going, Nick.
Yes, obviously sprinting through funding. You can try to do, it's the law of the farm. If you try to do a funding proposal the 2 days before the deadline, it might not be as good. If you can make it a weekly habit to work a bit on every funding aspect in a piecemeal fashion, in a slow, steadfast fashion, and if you can do that, you will obviously reap what you sow, and obviously less stress. The fifth pitfall is not addressing funding proactively. Oftentimes, organizations have some stable revenues that they live with, and they basically don't attempt new opportunities or try new things, and that can basically lead to inaction. I think if you make funding a core part of your time and priority management on a weekly basis, your organization can grow to gain more security and to access more revenues. On to Alain for some news.
Yeah, so Luc and I have built a masterclass program. If ever you're interested, we're going to be sending information on this. And because I guess not just because of that, but we'll be sending you, just for enduring us today, we'll be sending you some information that can help you pre-register, maybe at a smaller fee. But we'll be sending all of the information for a really robust 3-day masterclass on getting all of those initiatives either more robust or getting them off the ground on those 4 pillars. So spending a bit more time on government grants, but also bringing you the proper tools and templates and everything you need to get all of your other pillars off the ground as quickly as possible. So stay tuned for information when it comes to that. It's going to be on the Discus website, but we're going to be sharing it with you. And it should be pretty affordable. And if there's an issue there, just give us a call. We'll make things work. But this program is really built for nonprofit organizations like yours. Thanks, Luc. And yeah, so I'm going to put a link in the Zoom for all of our in the chat for all of our webinars. We have a great one coming up with the author Jim Brown. He wrote The Imperfect Board Member. We're going to talk. This is for governance, by the way. We're going to talk about 3 ways to prevent the board from being a distraction for you, the executive director in the organization. And also, we're going to talk about monitoring. Um, yeah, evaluating employee performance and so on, and which is something that's been an issue for most organizations post-pandemic. So these are coming up. All of our webinars are in both French and English, except for that one on the 3rd with our colleague Jim. But yeah, go have a look. We have 20 webinars a season going on, and they're all free and they're built just for you. So thank you so much. Luc, is there another one at the end? Yeah, if you want in the chat, sum up your session in 1 word. We'd really appreciate the encouragement. I want to thank Luc for his presence today. In the follow-up session, we'll be sharing all of the information you need. If you want to contact Luc, set up a discussion with him or an exploratory meeting. We'll put all that information in the follow-up emails. So you'll get the recording, and you'll also get information to connect with Luc or myself and other team members at the Discus Academy. So thanks for your time. 12:05, not too bad. Took about an hour to do so. And we hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at our next webinar. Cheers.
Thank you.